All right, so in this video, I'm gonna go back over some of the stuff and the issues that I had with the four-wheel drive system. A lot of people have asked about certain places where things are and what to check for. So this is gonna be a quicker video to kind of go over the places to check. So if your service four-wheel drive light comes on, you're having issues to where it's shifting in or out, or you're not having any lights on your switch right here. So the switch, if you get it from an auto parts store, is like 60 bucks. But one thing you could check on a separate switch is just push the little tabs in and take it apart and check the solders on it. And that's if you're usually not getting any lights or intermittent lights with your switch. Or you could just go to a junkyard or a marketplace and pick one up for like 10 bucks. The second place you're gonna wanna check is under the hood for the Trek fuse. So on your main fuse panel under the hood, if you look right here in the corner, it says Trek 30 amp, which is right here. And that fuse is supposed to disable the four-wheel drive. If you're having other issues, this fuse won't do anything for you. It won't disable. This communicates, this runs the power to the module, which goes everywhere else. But if your module is already messed up and you're stuck in four-wheel drive, it's not gonna do anything for you to pull this fuse. All right, another place to check is going to be under your steering column. This panel right here has to be removed, and then right where your parking brake is, underneath, you'll have your module, and that's your transfer case control module. You can pull it down. You really won't be able to look at it and tell if anything's wrong, but if you're having symptoms where you have no lights and it's stuck and there's nothing you can do, that's probably a good place to go with. The part is about $200 depending on where you get it from, so it's not a cheap option. All right, so this is the cheapest fix versus the fuse. Fuse is probably the second most expensive thing, which is like probably $1. But underneath this is free. So underneath the driver's side door near the front, you'll find 2 bolts and 2 grounds on there. So if you just take these off, use a screwdriver, a wire brush or anything like that and clean it off, I mean, you might be able to come down here and see that these are corroded and the connection is not good. So you could always just take them off, clean it, and this is something free you can do that might help with your service four-wheel drive problem. All right, so the last place is gonna be all the way underneath your car, which is on your transfer case. And this is gonna be your transfer case shift motor. This part, to take it out, you actually do have to take out the drive shaft. This part is also expensive. It's about $300 if you go with like a store brand, O'Reilly's or AutoZone. And they do not make GM parts for this anymore, so you can't buy it from the dealer. But this, to me, this was the last resort. If nothing else was working and nothing else was gonna fix it, this is the part I checked. On a side note, on the transfer case, one thing that has happened before in this vehicle used to have to drive through a lot of mud, rough driveway, and a lot of rough terrain. And it's pretty common on these, but the transfer case actually cracks, and when it cracks, you have to replace it with a transfer case saver kit. And that happened a couple years ago, and then there was no issues, and then all of a sudden I started having to service four-wheel drive lights. But hopefully that's the last resort. It's definitely not cheap, but yeah, so those are the places you would want to check if you have a four-wheel drive light on. Another thing is, after you clean the grounds, you can always pull the batteries off the terminals off the battery and let it sit for a couple hours. Now to give it time to reset, and maybe it'll connect to your module. Very unlikely, and there's a good chance you might still have a problem, but it might get you home if you run into an issue. It didn't help with me, but I did have to buy a new module underneath the dash, and that's what fixed my problems.